Welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting for October 21, 2014. Let's see, we're going to start by taking well, everybody has to know that we're being recorded. Then we want to take a moment of appreciation for our servicemen and women serving around the world. Thank you. We were going to have an executive session at the end of the meeting to discuss the state hospital negotiations, but we've decided not to do that. We're just going to go home. To our listening audience, you out there in TV land, because there's nobody here in the room.
I know.
Except the chief. I'm sorry, chief.
He's already got his invitation.
That's okay. Self-esteem's okay.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, let me get my other foot out of there. Town Garage, this Saturday. You're cordially invited to visit the new Town Garage this Saturday, October 25th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Ribbon cutting ceremony at 11 a.m. Children are welcome. Popcorn and hot dogs will be served. And secondly, the Kingsbury Pond Committee invites you to an event this Saturday on the 25th also at, let's see, it's 12 to 3. A team of draft horses will move the turbine from the front of the grist mill to the back of the building. The event takes place 12 to 3. Apples and apple cider will be available courtesy of Brothers Marketplace. And we have our one attendee who's here to talk to us, Police Chief Robert Meaney, discussing traffic lights in the square.
All right.
Thank you for coming, Chief.
You're welcome. As you notice, the traffic has not gotten any better over the past year. It's a double-edged sword because there's many more people coming to the center. They're staying longer. There's a lot of pedestrian traffic. There's a lot more vehicles coming and going and into the various businesses. I think Brothers Market is probably one of the positive reasons for that, and it's working out well. The other side of that sword is the traffic has become a bit difficult. I've had officers at both the intersections, keeping them clear, but the problem even at South Street is when there's nobody parked in that intersection, you can get one school bus out, maybe, if they're a really good driver, and that's it. So, we've had a series of meetings over the past couple of months with some of the folks that do the work on the traffic lights. And we have come up with a plan to be able to change I'll call it the guts of the traffic boxes, the computer systems in each of the traffic boxes. Because as it is now, they all operate independently. The only thing that gives them any synchronization at all is that the clock in each box is synchronized by a GPS receiver, which is as good as we can do at this point. But when someone pushes the walk button, that throws it out of cycle because that's not part of the program. So in order to get it to work, we need somehow for those three boxes at South Street, Pleasant Street by the Bank of America, and by North Meadows Road to talk to each other. So we've come up with a solution that the guts will cost $29,800 to change out the interior computers in the three boxes. And then the system that's been in place for some 10 years or so was originally supposed to work by radio. That's how the three boxes were supposed to talk to each other to decide who's going to change and what they're going to do. Obviously, that's never really worked, so we're just going to admit that. So for an additional $13,800, what we're going to do is hardwire with plain old wire the boxes one to the other so they can communicate. It still is not going to make it perfect because this is a very busy road. You know, there's a couple of anecdotes going around out there that it's, you know, one of the second or so busiest undivided highways in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and there are times when I absolutely believe that. So it will not make it perfect, but if we could just have the goal of when the light turns green at South Street, it's already been green out here at North Street for 30 seconds or so, so the people from South Street have some place to go, other than 2 or 3 of them trying to, you know, crunch their way into the intersection and wait for everything to turn. So I've been working with Mike Sullivan, and we think we've identified some funds that we'll be able to do that with. And, you know, I'll be able to confirm that in a couple of weeks. Part of the money's may come from some money that was committed by Roche Bros to assist with, Brothers Market when they first came to Medfield. And then the other part will come from money that I have in the traffic light maintenance budget. I'm assuming that if I get things fixed, I have to do less maintenance. So I'm willing to put that money up front and hope that I don't need it next April and May. So that's the bare bones of the plan. Should make things work better. I have high hopes for this. It would be quite the miracle, really.
I think, just my own observation, you're absolutely correct. When that light turns green on South, I've counted, it's about 20 to 25 seconds that it's still red on North Street. And then after that, then it turns and then it opens up. But you're right, only a couple of cars can come through at that time. And then I think your idea of hardwiring makes sense as well, because that just has not worked at all with the radio. I think it's a necessity. We have to do something. As people are doing U-turns, and it's just becoming less.
Yeah, what the officers have been doing is, if you are awarded the distinction of being in the middle of the intersection when the light turns red, you get to take the scenic route and go down South Street, or go down Pleasant Street or up North Street. It's your choice, but you don't get to stay there. So there's been some folks who thought they were going to get to Millis who took a little scenic detour around Medfield in order to rejoin 109 a little further down. So that's been the tactic that seems to have been doing pretty well. One of the things I notice is the days when I have the officers out there, the traffic is, it's right back to levels, just because people are doing what they're supposed to do.
But thank you for having them there. I think it does make a difference. at
Yeah,
this
it helps,
intersection.
yeah. So that's the update.
Now, is there a, have you identified, do you have to put this out to bid or anything for the size? I don't know how it works,
The
rules.
The signal people that I've been working
Yeah.
with got on the state vendor list in August.
Okay,
So
okay,
I'm going to check that to make sure it's accurate
yeah,
and that they're really there so that we can purchase from them.
okay, yeah. that they're
And
approved, yeah.
then they work with my traffic signal maintenance person, Central Mass Signals, he's very
Okay.
good.
Yeah,
And they make the whole thing work.
okay, good, okay.
Do you need we need a motion or something to give them the go-ahead, or?
Are you looking for
think
some
I'm-
sort of vote, or?
No, not at all. I think I'm fine. I think working with Mike, I think we're good. We've identified a funding source. If there's anything I need, I'm certainly not the least bit shy about coming back and talking to you about it and getting it figured out, but I think I'm okay to go.
I think I'd like to just make a motion that we endorse the
Okay.
concept that the chief has, because I think this is a major issue, and I just want to compliment you. I know this is not your favorite part of being the police chief, and you've spent an incredible amount of hours working on this, and it's like a can't-win cause, and you've done a great job with that. So I think just for the selectmen to support you in that. So I'd just like to make a motion that we endorse the concept that the chief is proposing.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Yep.
Aye.
Aye. So, good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that.
Chief,
Good luck.
It's in the job description somewhere.
Yeah,
can I get, just before you leave, one quick thing on that? Any update on the CSX and the railroad crossing from either Senator Timothy or Kennedy's office or anything more? It's been about 2 weeks.
We did get, Mike and I got an email from Donnie Daly, who was the Department of Transportation rep,
Right.
and he sent us that partway through the day on Sunday, wanting us to know if we'd heard from CSX yet. And we have not. But I will say that we had problems with the lights at Dale Street and Cottage Street Sunday night into Monday morning. And by Monday morning at 9 o'clock, there were 3 CSX maintenance trucks working all along that section of the rail, making corrections. And I don't know if it's total coincidence or if it's, part of some pressure coming from the state to make them do it right. But they've been putting, I don't know if you noticed, they've been putting jumper wires so the rails continue to have electricity flowing through them so the signals work the way they're supposed to.
So have they fixed that issue before? You were talking about where the wires, they have not?
Well, they haven't, the rail is still, it's still
Yeah,
2
it's
pieces of
the
rail,
rail.
so no, they haven't done that. But they've been taking wires to jump from, there's usually a very short wire at
And
the
they're
end of the
making
rail.
longer ones now? Yeah.
And they've been putting longer ones in, because the short ones
Okay.
get cracked and frayed, and then you get a little bit of this, and all of a sudden they're gone.
Snap, yeah.
So these are like, some of them are 2 and 3 feet long, welded to the inside of the rail. If you just go up by Noon Hill Grill
Mhm,
and just look across the parking lot, I think they're orange coated, and
Okay.
you'll see exactly what they're doing.
Okay.
And they've done almost every joint, several back from 109 in either
Okay.
direction, heading down towards Dale, towards Cottage, and then Dale.
Okay.
So are they making progress, or do you want us to maybe get Congressman Kennedy in
Well,
here?
I'll call Donnie Daly, because he was wanting to know, and I typed him back and said, no, we haven't heard anything yet, so I've kind of like whacked the ball back into his court. But I'll follow up with a call to Donnie and see what he's found out. So it's good, because he's not left us. Originally, a few weeks ago, we kind of thought that we got moved on to another group, and he was out, but it looks like he is still monitoring the situation, which is great.
But I just want to make sure that they're not going to forget about that, because I think it's a major safety crisis that we have there. And I don't think we're getting the attention, and I think if necessary, we need to, because it's a federal issue, get Congressman Kennedy involved in it, if that's the only way we're going to be able to get it done.
Because it certainly locks the town up.
Right.
And, you know, as you know, the issue was not just the gates coming down, because the fire department has permanently mounted ropes to the gates. So we can pull the gates out of the way, we can get rid of the physical issue. But the railroad lights are connected to the traffic light system.
Right.
So you can't go east-west out here at North Street
Right.
or down at North Meadows Road. You can go north-south all you want to, but east-west you can't do, we gotta do that by hand.
Right.
So I have to put an officer at each intersection, and then Bob Kennedy and his crew come out and set up the detour for us, and, you know, we do the workaround. But you're right, it's not acceptable.
Can you let us know by the next, because if we don't have action, in
Sure.
my opinion, by the next meeting, I think we need to get a call and get the congressman out here.
Yeah. Go to the next step, sure.
Okay.
Yep, I'll keep you informed, absolutely.
Thank you very much, Chief.
You're welcome.
Our next item is to review the selectmen's goals that we didn't complete last year. Well, you even got a list, huh?
Have them listed.
Okay. I, of course, can't find mine again. Too much pieces of paper. I'm sure.
I never got one.
Do you want to start down your list then, Richard?
Sure. One was, we were going to meet with all town boards. We did not meet with Board of Health, Animal Control, Affordable Housing, Rail Trail, Planning, Housing, and School Committee.
Mhm. All right, so just something obviously to work on to try to do a better job, at least being able to try to hit the 100% mark there.
Particularly these ones here that we missed
Mhm.
last time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe once a month or something, or get a different one in. I think Mark's point was, well, we don't want to get them all at once, but if you have, you know, maybe one, and space it apart, and you get another one in the next week, or...
Sure. Yep.
The next one we had was improving the town's website. I'm not quite sure what all the issues of the website were, but
Any plans to do anything with the website, Chris?
I'm updating it on a daily basis. We're adding new departments and adding new information to it. If there's something specific you're looking for, outside of that, let me know.
Okay.
were there particular things on the website?
Well, for me, I find it difficult to maneuver around on the website. I find it a little difficult to get to documents and to,
We've been trying to address that, making it easier. When we initially did the redesign, the thought from the web design company was to go to one area for the documents and search by each. You could just pick a drop-down menu for your department. People have said they liked it the other way, where you go directly to the department and you can see their publications right there. So I'm in the process of changing all of those,
And putting them back into the
Yep.
individual departments and stuff
Yep.
like that.
just
Okay.
redirecting them.
Okay.
And we had getting a 5-year plan from all department heads, committee chairs. We got it from some, but not from all.
And I think, yeah, and I just chatted, and I thought they'll probably try to do that, I think, this year, because I had chatted a little bit with Michael and Christine, that maybe they'll be able to try to incorporate that a little bit into the
Yes, we're
the
telling all,
budgeting process.
and
this
when
year.
when the department heads and committee chairs come in to meet with you, we're telling them that's, because they all ask, why am I coming in? We tell them, it's an update meeting, but can you also provide a 5-year plan? So you should see that going forward.
Roberta Lynch did that with the Council on
Yes.
Aging
Right.
just
Mhm.
recently, so that was good.
Yep.
Yep, so that'll,
Well, it'd be
that'll
good if, I mean, she just orally presented it. It would be good if she wrote it out, actually, and then we can get it on the website and,
Sure, we can ask her to do that.
Is that something then, when we have the different committees come in, we can ask them to bring that with them? Is that your plan?
I think that's the way that we're doing it this year, yeah.
And you want something written that you can then have, right?
I think that's the, yeah.
Yeah, I think they're gonna incorporate in the budget process, right, this upcoming
Yeah.
budget cycle and stuff like that.
As they come in about the budgets, they'll also have a
3-year.
five-year, or 3 or 5, well, a 5-year plan.
That
And,
was a 3-year budget or something we talked about, right?
that's for Michael. Michael's gonna do an overall 3-year budget for the, town and stuff
Oh,
like
for the
that.
town, but not
and
the
stuff like that.
individual departments?
Well, we asked them to do 5-year capital. So when they submit their capital items to the capital budget committee, it's
Okay.
in a 5-year plan.
Okay.
So I think that'll be good, just to, as we talked about, kind of keep it simple, just big picture. That's what I'd be kind of interested in, just major things that they're looking for, because otherwise, we potentially could kind of get bogged down in a lot of details if we're gonna look at, while them trying to forecast the cost of their, utility bills over the next 5 years, and then we have a discussion there, you know, what I mean, there's stuff that stuff's meaningless, it doesn't matter, you know, but I think it'd be more interesting what they plan to do, right, with their department, or what they see for
Yes.
staffing, or expansion, or roles, I guess, within the town, I think would be
Yeah,
the most interesting thing that people would
I
care
think the
about.
Council of Aging did a good job on that.
They
Yeah,
did,
yeah,
yeah.
where
Get an
they'd
idea
like to
where
try
they
to
wanna
go,
go.
yeah, yeah,
And the fact that they're up against the limit in terms of the use of the building, that they need
sure,
more space.
things like
and
that, I
they-
think,
They want to expand that respite program.
yeah, yeah. But I think that'd be good, just really, really big picture,
Mhm.
couple of key things, rather than getting too bogged down and worrying about numbers, because it's all a guess anyways. I mean, anything you're gonna project with too much detail
And
is
it's very
just gonna be a
helpful to have
waste.
that 5-year capital plan too, 'cause especially with something like the fire department, where the
Yep.
capital expenditures are $300,000 to $400,000.
Exactly, yep.
It's a good idea to know those are coming down the road.
Yes.
Then we had the update of the town bylaws concerning future state hospital development still is not complete. Is Mark Sorrell?
Mark
working
Sorrell,
on
it's
that?
my understanding that Mark Sorrell is handling that, so I will have him come to your next meeting and have a discussion with you where he stands on that.
So he'll come to the next meeting?
I'll see if he's available
November.
probably for the first meeting in November.
One of our goals was to have Medfield become a green community. The voters at town meeting defeated the stretch code on that. I don't know if we, I think I'd like to, but we come back again and see if we can persuade them, or?
I'd like to try that. The Energy Committee is still trying to figure out if they want to sign on to that.
Well, I think they would have to kind of lead the.
Yeah, they're gonna have to lead the charge if they feel up to
Yep.
it next year.
They've not been entirely pleased with the town's response, I guess, to their suggestions.
We had to analyze overtime use. We really didn't do that.
No, we didn't at all. No.
Part of the
DPW.
Part of the reason why I didn't do it for this past fiscal year is the building of the town garage, the amount of overtime used in all of the highway departments, not so much police and fire, but in the highway department for building of the town garage was probably, would have skewed towards an overusage of overtime, especially the number of employees I have on workers' compensation currently as well. But we can do that for you for this fiscal year going forward.
Chris, we have a lot on workers' comp, is that what you're saying?
I had 2, actually 3 for a significant portion of this year.
Oh, okay.
Create a 3-year financial forecast of the town. I think Mike was going to work on that,
Mhm.
correct?
Yeah, because he thought he'd be able to just kind of expand a little bit on his spreadsheet there and kind of get some numbers down on that, which will be great.
And then we had explore areas of tax relief for senior citizens, and that would also include, which we discussed last week, the issue of what they're doing in the town of Sudbury, and my understanding is our assessors, in fact, I spoke to Ed Beard, our assessors are working on that, and Stan Bergeron, I guess, is putting a lot of time on what they've been doing in Sudbury. I think there's, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, the legislature gave them a 3-year pilot program,
pilot
so to
program.
speak.
Mhm.
So they're the only ones, and then they'll
Correct.
assess that at the end of the 3-year period.
And did that just get started? Did it
No,
did it
we're
just
in
begin?
second-
Second year of
Second year.
Your
that.
second year,
Okay, so
So
we
we
have a
have-
ways to go.
oh, yeah.
So the other thing that I heard about recently, or discovered recently, that cities and towns can do is to have an exemption for personal residence. I think Boston does it, Brookline does it, maybe like another 10 towns or something in the state
What
do
is,
it.
what is that?
It ends up foisting onto the more expensive houses more of the burden of the property tax, and also the non-residents. So it's a way of shifting the tax burden. It's not exactly progressive, but it is it's a shift from the owner occupants to the non-owner occupants and the more expensive houses, apparently.
Yeah,
There are
because in
about a dozen
Boston,
towns that do it.
yeah, Boston's famous for doing that, so the tax rate can be pretty low if you're a resident versus if you happen to own a rental property in Boston and stuff, so it can make a
I
big
was shocked
difference.
when I saw the tax rate bills
Yeah.
in Boston years ago. I was shocked at how low they were.
Yeah.
Well, they have so much more rental properties than we do.
Of course they do, yeah,
And
with all the
commercial.
landlords and stuff like that, exactly, yep.
So that's one way of kind of skewing the property tax, which might assist seniors.
So those are the areas, the rest we had achieved.
So can you maybe make copies of your list to
Sure.
give to
Mhm.
Mark and myself and Chris and Mike, and then we can make a point of working on those as we go forward.
Will do.
Thank you. We're asked to vote to authorize Town Administrator Mike Sullivan to sign the renewal proposals for the MIIA Health Benefits Trust, Medex 2 and Blue Medicare RX, and Tufts Medicare Health Plan for the period from January to December 2015.
This is just for the Medicare plans that the town offers.
Renewal proposals that MIIA has given us.
Mhm.
So do we have a motion on to that effect?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Yep. We're asked to vote to send a thank you letter to Roche Bros for their participation in placing fencing around the parking lot, plantings of new trees on Main Street, and agreeing to planters installed around the guy wire on South Street.
Which I think we knew when Roche Brothers was going to come here, what a very good community-based organization they are, and they're certainly living up to their reputation. I think Mike Sullivan did a nice job in writing and compiling that letter. So I move that we sign and go ahead and send that letter, thank you note to Roche Brothers.
And I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
They did a great job helping us with Arbor Day. It was very nice. They had pumpkin cookies, apple cider. It was really nice.
Next, we're asked to vote to send Roche Brothers another letter requesting the town to utilize their, meaning Roche Brothers, I guess, $30,000 contribution for the rehabilitation of the traffic signals on Main Street. And I guess that's probably just what we heard about from the chief, or not?
Yes, the $30,000 was originally committed by Roche Brothers to do the sidewalks. We obviously had to pay for the sidewalk work as it was being done, so it came out of last year's fiscal budget. We've received the donation of the $30,000 from Roche Brothers, and we just feel it would be helpful to them and to us if we notify them that we're actually going to use it for the traffic signalization, not the sidewalk. So there's no question that of how the money was spent.
Help to get people out of their parking lot.
Exactly.
And I think Mike has talked, so they're in agreement with that.
They're in agreement with it. We're just going to send a formal letter to them.
So moved.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
I think they would benefit from the traffic moving a little quicker as well.
Next, we're asked to vote to authorize me to sign amendment of lease agreement with Sprint Spectrum Realty Company for a $3,000 increase in annual rent due to modifications to Mount Nebo tank, which is to install 3 antenna, 3 hybrid fiber cable, and a single remote radio head.
And this was vetted and a recommendation from the Radio Tower Study Committee. Dave Maxon is the chair of that committee.
Thank you.
How tall are these antennas? These are additional antennas that come out of the water tower?
Yes, I don't know how tall they are. I'd have to look it up.
They put it on the side of the tank, not on the
Oh,
top.
it's not sticking up, so it's not sticking up, it's on the side?
No, I don't think you won't notice a change on the top.
Mhm.
So we'll be getting $3,000 increase in our rent there. I certainly will motion that.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Yep. And our rent on the Mount Nebo water tower is over 100,000, isn't it? Like 120, 130,000 a year? or
From
something?
Sprint, it's 35,000, so it'll be increased by 3.
Okay, up to
But
30.
total, yeah,
Mhm.
it's roughly
So
100,000.
what's the total of all the rental on that tower?
Yeah, it's just over 100,000.
It's a little over 100,000.
Mhm.
Over 100,000? That's good.
Next, we're asked to vote to approve expenditure in the amount of $112.50 for the town seal lapel pins to be presented to the high school boys lacrosse team at the November 25th Selectmen's meeting.
That's the team that won the state championship,
Mhm.
and they couldn't come in at the very end, and we're gonna bring them in at, just when they're home for Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
So moved.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep. Vote to authorize me to execute for the board a lease agreement with Breen West Realty LLC. Pertains to the police department leasing space during construction of the new public safety building.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
Aye.
Superintendent Feeney requests selectmen to vote to sign Chapter 90, 100% reimbursement request in the amount of $36,000 for the purchase of a mini-track asphalt paver. Vote to sign Chapter 90 final report regarding same. Vote to sign Chapter 90, 100% reimbursement request in the amount of $450,000 for the paving of Route 27 from Granite Street to West Street. So do we have a motion for all three of those items?
Do you want separate motions or just one?
We can just do one, I think.
Yeah, I think one is sufficient.
So moved as printed on our agenda.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion, any further information? All in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
Do we pretty much at the end of the year finish out to the penny, the entire Chapter 90 money that we get?
No, sometimes we bank it for future projects.
So you can do that?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
because it's state money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mike and Ken have both said that a lot of times we bank it from year to year because we don't get enough to do as much as we want with,
Right.
and so we accumulate it to do stuff. Next, we've got approval of minutes. It says for October 7, but we also have the minutes going back to December.
All right.
Have you guys had a chance to review the ones back to December yet, or
I skimmed through them briefly and stuff like that. I mean,
you want to go
They
ahead
were fine.
and
They
talk
were
about them, or?
they were fine with me. Everything I'm. you
I
guys
had,
might have
there was a
some
number, I had, some were typos and some were just, I can go through them, or I can just give them to,
You just give
Have
them
one
to
on the
us.
side, yeah.
I have them all highlighted, so.
Good, excellent.
I have Post-its on mine.
Good.
So I'll give them to you, that one.
Good.
Can I also ask that we're on the, with the minutes, because the minutes to me are great, it gives you a chance to review, and sometimes we make a motion to do something, and then we get distracted, and weeks go by and we kind of forget. So it was interesting going through, I just kind of footnoted different things we voted to do and said we were gonna do, and,
And then we forgot about,
well, we didn't, I don't know if we forgot, but I don't know if we've
We didn't
given
follow
full
up.
attention.
yeah.
One was, we have the Town Bylaw and Charter Review Committee, which, is that different from the state hospital one?
Well, there's no one really, well, I guess we've assigned the state hospital bylaw review to
Mark.
Mark Sorrell now. But there is,
Well, what's this committee doing? Are they,
They were the one who did the codification of the book.
is that the one that Scott McDermott started and then Russ Hallisey had?
Yes.
Yeah, and then we had
Okay.
voted on the codification
At
at
town
town
meeting, we
meeting.
did?
Yeah,
mhm.
Okay, so they're completed?
it's the codification.
So
is
they're,
anyways.
okay, so they were done.
Are they functioning at all anymore, or are they?
I don't see any reason for them to continue. We can talk to Russ and see whether or not they want to stay for any issues with the codification, but everybody seems quite happy with the book and how it's turned out, so. But I'll talk to Russ and
Yeah,
see if
you
they
talk
want to
him, ask him if he
continue.
wants to do anything about the Medfield State Hospital bylaws. If you're having trouble getting those done, it'd be good to have him.
I don't think that would go over well.
I think this project may have put them all under,
They may have, they're tired, huh? Okay.
but I'll talk to Russ.
They did chase down some of the existing department regulations.
Yeah.
That committee chased.
Yeah, and because of them, we're gonna get some police regulations,
Mhm.
I think. What did we do? It was a capital budget item, wasn't it, 8,000 to do police regulations this coming year?
Mhm.
We formed the Plastic Bag Committee, and they came and made a request for a recycling location at the transfer station. I don't know if we ever did that.
They have it. Yep,
They have
they're
it?
there.
Mhm.
Great.
Yeah, it's right there, yeah.
There's a lot going on with plastic bags in other towns.
Yeah, I've been following that.
I've been reading about it, because I read the Newton local paper, and they're doing a lot in Newton about
Brookline was
it.
another one.
So it'd be interesting to see if they would be interested in doing more.
Well, maybe we could, I don't think we brought them in, maybe we can ask them, add that to the list. There was about 4 or 5 that can come in as well, just to update us. I think they just had a meeting this past week, so.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear they're still meeting. Good.
We talked about, when Ken Feeney was in, we talked about, Ken was gonna develop, and I know it was long range, but he was gonna get back to us on a sidewalk design plan for a potential sidewalk going from Pound Street down towards Shaw's and the old Sunoco. So I don't know, he was talking about using Chapter 90 funds on that. I don't know if he's done that or is still on.
He had to put that into the queue, right, I think,
Yeah.
for the Norfolk County engineers, right, I would assume, for them to work on it.
It's a
Yeah.
very expensive,
Right, it was like $2 million or
oh,
something.
at least.
Yeah, that's just, yeah.
But he was gonna come back
Town.
with at least with
He was
the
great.
design
Yeah,
plan.
he's,
And the same with Metacomet Street. He was
Sidewalk.
gonna look into, there was some question whether there was a layout of that street, and he was gonna check on that. I know Chief Meaney and the Superintendent, Superintendent Marsden, that's high on their list, because that's used every day. One, the parking, mainly juniors that park in the Metacomet parking lot, but also all the sporting events that, in Metacomet, all those kids walk along
And
there.
it's very bad in the morning with the cars going two ways and the kids trying to walk in the street as well. It's not a safe
We had
situation.
a kid was hit last year there,
Mhm.
and with the snow banks, particularly in the winter. So Ken was gonna get, if we could, we need to get an update, where are we? Is that something we wanna do this upcoming town meeting, or what?
Why don't we find out just what's involved, but maybe we
Right.
can get in touch with Ken and ask him to get back to us on these things.
Absolutely.
We said in one of the minutes, we voted to form or ask the public for a liaison or a contact person between the town and state government that would focus on what's in the state budget and bills that would impact Medfield. Maybe we can put another call for that. Maybe also we can put a note to, I think it's Kevin Murphy that is the AP government teacher. That would be a nice project, I think, for a senior AP government kid to kind of monitor, are there any bills that impact Medfield?
Mhm.
There's several ways. We get briefings of what's going on in general at the State House, but maybe someone could work
Mhm.
with our two reps and state senator and keep us informed.
And we're actually very fortunate because John Nunnery
Yeah, he does a nice
sends us,
job with that.
sends us information about
Weekly
any
update.
bills that are Medfield related, because he monitors everything that goes on at the State House for the architects. And
Yeah.
I think he probably just has an alert in
Yeah.
his system, because he has a subscription to tracking the bills, and I think
Mhm.
that he probably just has an alert for anything for
So
Medfield
does
that he sends along to us.
Does he look at, for the Medfield-related ones?
He does, yeah, because
Yeah.
when there are Medfield-related ones, he sends it along to
Yeah,
us.
Bill will know.
So maybe
Yeah.
he's doing that then
I think he
already.
is,
Okay,
yeah. I mean, he just started doing it on
okay.
his own.
It's really kind of nice, though, to get
It's
the
very
the
nice.
weekly update on them, see what's going on.
We also said we were going to find ways for citizens to opt out of getting the Yellow Pages books dumped on your driveway. Christine, it said you were going to check with the Medfield Green Committee to see.
I had a conversation with the solid waste committee. Let me go back and check my notes from that.
We also were going to set a meeting date up. We were going to go to the Water and Sewer Board,
All right.
the whole issue of the budgets and
Mhm,
what
mhm.
Ken and dealing with that. We brought up, there was a citizen concern, and I just don't know the answer to it. They felt that, especially on Friday and Saturday nights along Green Street, the two restaurants that are in there, apparently, especially the Japanese one is doing very well, and a lot of people are parking on the sidewalk, and there were issues. I don't know, is that still an issue, is that not an issue anymore?
I haven't heard if it's
Anything
a.
No, I haven't seen it either, because
Have
obviously
you
I
gone by
go
like on a Friday and Saturday night?
all the time.
So
yeah.
are they on the sidewalk, or?
No, I can't, nothing seems to be, no.
Of a
I have
crisis.
no sense that it's like
Okay, so maybe that,
parking issue there.
okay.
I mean, it's full, but I
But it's not
can't.
creating
it is-
a
No,
traffic issue.
no, and I can't think of it offhand
Okay.
yet, and we're down by that all the time, obviously.
That's too bad, then they're not doing as much business.
Well, maybe they find
No, the
places
parking lots
to
are full,
park.
and the parking lots are full, but I get no sense that there's an issue with the street, no.
Okay. We're still, Mike's not here, but trying to get that letter on the Farm Street and Harding Street railroad tracks removed. So we got permission to do that, we just
Dig it
need
up.
to get a letter that Mike was going to,
Mike needs to send a letter to the MBTA?
yes.
Okay, yeah.
We got an okay, but they need a letter, and then we
Yeah.
can actually
Get to
get
work.
it up and tar it over. We've been talking about that for a long time. Maybe we can get the chief at some point. We've been talking, we talked to several times in the meetings of parking issues on Upham Road. And as we get close to winter, it becomes more of an issue because of the snow banks that are there.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know what the answer is, but I think we have to somehow address that.
So why don't we combine that with the parking on Green Street and ask the chief about
I'll ask the
that,
chief to look at both
about
those.
both of those.
Okay. We brought up, and we never really said what we're gonna do on the Park Street sign of the businesses on Park Street. Did
Chris
we-
was looking into the layout.
Yes, I'm waiting for my layout to be finalized. I know they've started, but I don't have a final layout yet.
Okay,
So we're looking for a place to put our sign.
right. Is there an update on the Dover cell tower? What's happening with that, and what about Medfield's RFP for our future water tower?
The Dover cell tower was going before the school committee, and I guess what I saw was that it was, not everybody in Dover was on board with having it at the schools. There were some
Correct.
parents who protested that they didn't want their kids to
Zap.
be subjected to whatever the
Radiation
cell tower
and
might subject them to. And so that it wasn't a slam dunk all of a sudden. It seemed like it was going to be a slam dunk in terms of the school committee wanting to harvest the income from it. But it's become a controversy, and Mr. Massaro is raising his hand to,
We got a letter either yesterday or Saturday that the Dover has rescheduled a hearing for, I think it's in November. I'll get back to you and send you a copy of the letter with the dates, but,
the ZBA just keeps putting
yeah.
off the
But it-
hearing and the sidewalk.
I'm not sure if it was a zoning board or a planning board hearing, but it's not the school committee hearing, which was in fact held as you described, a couple of weeks ago. So I'll send you a copy of the letter.
And then how about the RFP that Medfield was
That
in?
Mike's working on.
Yeah,
Yes.
Dave and Dave Maxon and Mike are working on that.
Okay,
It's becoming an issue of timing with the building of the new water tower.
okay.
And that could get Dover really upset when we do that.
We had talked before of different ways of solving the different litter problems and issues, either town-wide, litter day, or, I've talked to a couple of selectmen in other towns that actually have used the Norfolk County Sheriff's Department. I don't know,
Oh, have the
Whether
prisoners
that's-
come out?
worth looking in under Sheriff Bellotti.
I saw them recently. They were out on 27 not too long ago.
How did we get them to do that?
I'll have to talk to the chief, but I know I saw them on 27.
Because, I mean, that's a town highway.
Yeah, let me ask the chief.
Oh, good.
We had actually asked Ken, we had assigned Ken the task of running a Medfield cleanup day in the spring, and he didn't do it. He said he was busy with the highway garage instead. But I think it would be good to ask him in next spring to organize it doesn't have to be a big deal, but I think if you have a particular weekend in the spring when people are in town or asked to clean up and the town helps
But
out in some
maybe we
way.
can, to help him, put a letter out to the different civic organizations in town and see if they want to have members come and help on that particular day, too.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of towns do that.
Yeah. I know I asked Medfield Green if they wanted to do it one year, and they said no. They were working with the Charles River Watershed on their cleanup instead.
But maybe if we get a lot of committees, then they don't have to, it's not just that one group. If you have a lot of different groups, then.
Yeah, it should be a
it's not
townwide,
that
it should be a
much.
townwide thing.
We used to have it years ago. Also, we talked about the status of the Downtown Study Committee.
Yep, they were supposed to do stuff in the fall.
We just appointed Deborah Kelsey, and then, of course, she left.
Yep.
So I don't know where we stand with the Downtown Study Committee.
Actually, I'm going to get out in the next couple days your appointments for this year, which we have not done yet. And then you can go through and name a chairman from the Downtown Study Committee,
Okay.
since the former chairman has resigned. And then have that chairman call a meeting.
And maybe put a call out to see if we can get additional members. I think we also need now a merchant. We had Nancy Kelly Lavin
Yeah.
before with Lords, but maybe we can put a call out to one of the merchants also to get involved on that. We had talked about, and I know, Christine, you had looked at that, Columbia Gas, the tarring of the sidewalk in front of Zebras and 34 South Street, and Pete had an interesting posting of, I think it was out of Dayton, Ohio, to try to track down when utility companies dig up a street like that and then just don't properly fill and repair that. I know you said before they want to wait until they get.
Ken told me they wait for a certain number to do and they come out and do them all at once. It's not, cost effective for them to come out to do one or two. They wait to have numerous ones,
But
so.
it could be years before they have another.
I'll ask him if he knows
Yeah.
what their timeline is.
They want it to settle over winter is what Ken always tells us, and I don't know when that one was done, but
But I don't think you can really, after November, open up on cement because of the
No.
weather
What, cement?
conditions. Because what they did is they just stuck tar in the middle of a
Oh, in the
cement
cement
sidewalk.
sidewalk,
So
okay.
it looks terrible. And you got the cement and this hunk of tar, and then you got the cement again.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Dayton, Ohio thing was kind of interesting. What they were doing was they were requiring anybody that cut into their pavement to bury RFID tags. And then they had RFDI readers, and so you could go out with a handheld reader and you could go along the pavement and you could find out who was responsible for that part of the pavement. It was a way for them to keep track of who's responsible for the different parts of the pavement.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was interesting, when I was in China, on all the bricks on the bridges and the roads, the company has to put their name in the brick.
Mhm.
So if it starts to crumble and stuff, they can
Oh,
see
they know
who
who to
it
go
is.
to.
They can get after them. An update, we had talked about, what's the latest on Lot 3? Are they still talking about, the
I think the
economic development?
Economic Development Committee is still working on that. I don't know what the
They're
status
gonna
is
come
of
back at
that.
some point for an RFP?
Mhm.
Is that the next
They
stage?
Yeah,
were
they had
doing
a-
an RFI,
Yeah,
request
request
for
for
information.
interest.
They have
And
that
they'd be
out
back to
there.
us later in the year, I think. They were talking about the timeline.
It's been advertised, so I think they're just waiting for those
It has been,
responses. to
okay.
come
So
out.
I can tell you, because Pat Casey was at the Medfield State Hospital Master Planning Committee meeting. He's on that committee. And people were asking him there about the Lot 3. And what he said was that since the selectmen had asked them to study all the contiguously owned town land, which included Lot 3 and the Hinckley land, that the Economic Development Committee was kind of slow walking, was the term he used at this point, on the RFI to see what happened with the master planning process for the state hospital.
Did we tie
Well-
the entire thing into that one lot?
I don't think, I didn't agree to that, because if that's the case, then Lot 3 is going to sit around for the next 10 years before anything happens.
I
If
don't know if
wait
we
for the
actually
state
did
hospital
that.
master plan to
Did
be.
we actually do a motion on that?
Yeah, I thought
The sense of the board that was, that
Well-
I specifically asked about that, and you guys agreed at the time.
Well, I can't recall that we were going to sit and not do anything then, wait until the state hospitals develop for a plan, because that's just waste, and so we shouldn't have bothered to have a vote at the last town meeting for the selectmen to do anything with that, because now we'll be sitting around with that vacant Lot 3 for the next, 5 to 10 years, with nothing happening
I
again.
don't think we voted on that.
Yeah, I think we asked them to consider it, but I thought we had asked them to keep moving forward so we could get some bids and see what came out about that, as opposed to coming to a screeching halt.
Well, all the discussions at the State Hospital Master Planning Committee have been to the effect that it makes much more sense to plan for more land than less land, because you have
But-
more opportunities, the more you include in
I know, but
your planning.
I know, but I really don't see, I mean,
Their
yeah,
planning
lot,
process is going to be done in a year.
well, yeah, but I
Less
think
than a year.
lot, but I can't really see, Lot 3, yes, is in the same part of town as the state hospital, but it doesn't really abut it. We've got houses in the way and stuff like that, so
No,
it's.
it's connected through
Well,
McCarthy Park is connected.
I know, but you're not gonna do
It's
anything with
connected
McCarthy
to-
Park, and we've got fields that are all set there. I mean, nothing's gonna happen there.
Well,
Baseball
I
fields.
think that we should consider what to do with McCarthy Park, and
Well-
if we have a better use for McCarthy Park that relates to the development of the hospital, I would certainly want to pursue that, and
So
take
you-
those two
Take those
softball
fields?
fields and maybe put them somewhere else.
And where would that be, though? Then we're talking about like blowing up the whole town here and.
Well, you've got a
And
lot of
ripping up
land,
the fields.
you've got a lot of land at the Sledding Hill area. You've got 40 acres
Yeah.
there, you can only really build on 12 of it. I
Yeah.
mean, so maybe you can put some fields there.
Well, all I can say is I'm kind of disappointed that the Economic Development Committee is just gonna kind of just stop and not bother to do anything with that for a couple of years, because that, like I said,
I don't
once
think that
again,
was
we'll
the
be
message.
Well, it seems to be we're getting into delaying and stalling tactics here, and no one seems to be ready to commit to do anything with Lot 3 and try to get some revenue coming into the town, which everyone's been
Yeah,
looking to do.
in my opinion,
Yeah,
I
right.
think we need to proceed with Lot 3. I agree with you that we need to look at a master plan, but I think we voted at town meeting, we got a clear sense of the voters of town meeting. I think we need to proceed with Lot 3. I think, I agree, we need to look at a larger master plan, but I think Lot 3, we have a responsibility to have them proceed with that and not just
I'll
delay.
ask the
No.
Economic Development Committee for an update on where they are.
Yeah, really, because, like I said, it certainly wasn't my understanding that they were gonna just kind of call it a day, so.
Yeah, I think we need to get that cleared. We have an update on Gatehouse. Everybody keeps saying they're coming every week. I ask, nothing happens there. Are they still
They've been
coming?
meeting with the building commissioner. I believe they're planning on mobilizing. I talked to him last Thursday. Within the next couple of weeks, they were going to be mobilizing out there.
Okay. We had two studies. One was the downtown parking study results, and the other was an affordable housing draft study. I don't know if we've actually seen copies of those.
You should have copies of both of those. The affordable housing plan Sarah and I have been looking at, there's some sections we have to update because it's about a year and a half old. So we're just looking at updating the
Who-
demographic sections on that.
Who was behind the affordable housing study? Who was that?
That came out of the Gatehouse project, and we hired a consultant to do it.
Judy Barrett was the consultant
She was
who
the
did it.
consultant that put it together, and we just need to update it.
So did she ever report back to us? Or
It has not been officially presented yet.
Okay.
No, there's been draft copies that circulated, and Sarah and I have been making changes, but we haven't had a chance to sit down and really go
Is she
through it.
still working on that, or is she?
Judy has left the firm that did it, but there's a woman at the firm who finished the study for us, and they will present it as soon as we make our changes and ready to go.
So that's coming down the pike at some point?
Yeah. The issue with putting the plan in place is that we need to be committed to the construction of affordable housing immediately, and I don't think we're in the position to do that at this point.
Not quite yet.
So we're trying to address how we would fix that.
And maybe when they come in, they can answer, but I continue to get a couple of calls of people wanting to know, are we still going to put a Medfield rail trail in, even though Dover defeated it? Is it dead in the water? Where are we with that?
I talked to Christian Donner several months ago, and he was planning on shooting for doing something at this upcoming town meeting and going forward with it. What he has met with Joe Haddam, who's the fellow who runs the Iron Horse Preservation Society, and walked the trail in Medfield and learned from Joe Haddam that the gauge of the rails in Medfield is larger than Joe had thought, which generates more money for the salvage value of the iron, and that it would be enough to do the whole trail and cover it with stone dust. Other towns that they've worked with have had to pay for the stone dust cover, but I guess that we wouldn't have to.
So you're saying that the trail could be put in with no cost to the town?
There is an issue of, the MBTA makes you assume the liability for the environmental issues. A lot of towns are dealing with that by buying an insurance policy. The insurance policy is a one-time payment of $50,000. The state actually pays for half of it, so the town's share would be $25,000. I don't remember if it's a 5-year policy or something of that sort. It's not I don't think it's a permanent policy. And the idea is that it would, if there was anything that you'd find it in those 5 years. Apparently, Christian has told me that a lot of the towns have opted not to buy the insurance. Some towns have, most have not, apparently. And I think that the environmental liability only comes in if you've actually disturbed the hazardous wastes that are in the ground. So that if you do it the way you're supposed to, which is just to put things on top of what's there, I think that you're not likely to be disturbing. The other issue is whether or not there's really likely to be a lot of hazardous waste. So, I mean, it is a railroad, so that, there could be anything along it, but there were I don't know that there are any sidings or places where people would be dumping things.
Okay, well, maybe they can, because it sounds like there's some activity that's still going on there then.
They're still thinking and planning, yes.
Okay. Norfolk County Engineers, we said in the minutes we're going to work on the Straw Hat Park. Do you know if they did that?
I believe that they are finalizing their survey. Mike had a couple phone calls into them, but the gentleman who's been doing the survey for us was on vacation. So we're waiting to hear back from him, and I'll keep trying him later on in the week.
Okay. We talked when we had the tree warden in, the tree warden was going to get back to us with a kind of a tree planting program, especially for the downtown area. Any updates on North Street, Green Street? Are we still in the same, we don't know, on this waiting list of the state?
Just waiting.
I guess that was it from the minutes. Thank you.
Then, under licenses and permits, the Medfield Garden Club requests permission to post signs advertising their annual green sale on December 6. Signs in place from November 29 to December 6.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
N Towne Club requests permission to post signs promoting the annual Halloween party. Request permission for posting signs to promote event that will be held in the spring 2015. For posting signs to promote events that will be held in the spring 2015. Additionally, request permission to set up a booth to sell baked goods and other items at Memo's Christmas tree lighting ceremony on December 5th, 2014.
That's really three different requests, right?
Yep.
Okay, because the Halloween party in the spring didn't make sense.
Yeah, that didn't make sense to me either.
So moved.
I missed the semicolon.
We've moved Halloween before. I mean,
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep. And then Medfield State Hospital status update.
I have a couple of things for you. The negotiating committee is continuing to meet with DCAM to discuss the land disposition agreement. We actually met last Thursday morning. The Mass Historic MOA that the negotiating committee has been working on, we received the official copy today from DCAM, and I will send that to the local historic and the local historic district, who have 30 days to comment on the MOA.
Okay.
I have not seen it myself, but from what I understand, some serious vandalism reported at the state hospital this weekend. Many of the chapel windows were ruined.
Oh, come on.
I know. And 9 of the building locks were cut off, and the buildings were left open at some point this weekend.
Wow.
So
Wow.
the chapel was boarded on the outside, so they were broken from the inside?
No, they broke the windows from the outside. There were some windows that were broken.
The hinges were still off the doors last week.
Yeah. So, yeah, and we think it's the same people that came back to do this. So they sent a response team out this morning to clean up, board up, and try and figure out what happened in the lapse of security wall this weekend. So,
Oh, what a shame. It's senseless.
yeah, it's incredibly frustrating. But the chief is aware of it, and the chief is working with DCAM to try and see if we can help and assist in this process. The mediation committee is meeting on October 29th to go over the settlement agreements progress and where we stand.
Good.
And there was a construction C&D meeting up today at the state hospital, and everybody reported that the river looks fantastic.
Good.
If I can add to that, Chris, the more good news, the last status report was that the removal and relocation of the contaminated fill is about 74% complete,
That's great. That's really good.
and that the sheet piling has been put in along the river,
Okay.
and that the sedimentation removal, oil contaminated sediment removal should start this week and should run no longer than probably the end of next week. That's somewhat dependent on the river levels, I'm told, but in general, things are moving, right along.
Nicely.
So that's very, that's a positive for sure.
Sure.
You must be especially pleased when you go down there and see what this long struggle is beginning to look like.
It's been a while, but I said before, I thought we were going to come out of this with something that was probably better than the way it looked 100 years ago, and I'm convinced that we're going to be there. So I mean, it's the committee worked hard. Everybody, the mediation committee worked hard. We had great cooperation from DCAM as well, and I keep my fingers crossed. It's not over till it's over.
Yeah,
But
true.
We did get permission, just came in this week, to go under the rail line on Hospital Road.
Oh,
So that
good.
construction will begin. They'll start to mobilize for that, and both contractors and their clerk of the works on site will work with DCAM to make sure we have truck access in and out and all of that. So they're
Great.
coordinating on that.
That's excellent.
Has Oliveri been able to keep busy, or have they gone to another job, or what?
They had another job that they went over to in Millis, and they'll mobilize to come back here for this.
That's excellent.
Is that the State Hospital?
That's what I have for today. Yep.
Status. Selectmen's reports. Mr. Sorger, you want to go first?
Sure, just a couple of things. First of all, on a sad note, I just learned that Jim Doc Sproul has died. Doc Sproul was a longtime science teacher at Medfield High School. Did you have him, Mark, by chance?
Yes, I did.
He was also a golf coach, very active with the Legion, a World War II veteran. He was stationed a lot of the war up in Alaska at the time that the Japanese were right on the islands of the Aleutian and stuff there. So just condolences to his family, just a great individual, and he'll be greatly missed. I got to attend, we had 10 Chinese students and 3 teachers from Bengbu, China here for the past 3 weeks. They actually go back to China tomorrow. I attended one of the dinners that the school had for them, and the just a note of thanks to the host families here in Medfield that took the students in, and the students were in the classes and working with the Mandarin classes at the high school and at the middle school, and just a nice way to see different cultures get together, and once they're together, just like the kids are the same.
Yep.
Just was a nice experience. I got to attend the Energy Committee meeting. Pete, you were there. When they gave the report on the different solar sites, and it appears, and correct me, Peter, if I'm wrong, that the wastewater treatment plant sites seemed to be the best, and there was 2 options of a smaller section of the wastewater treatment plant or a larger section, and there were some issues of cost versus payoff over the time period. So kudos to the Energy Committee. I thought the lady did a good job in presenting that, and it seems to be that's the way they're going to go, if I'm reading them right.
I think they're probably going to go with the, there hasn't been a discussion of it, actually, but my guess is that certainly the wastewater treatment plant site is attractive because there is a $200,000 grant that Bob McDonald, the operator of the plant, has secured. I guess the $200,000 grant is only up to a 2 kilowatt. It's only up to a certain level. I think it's a 2 kilowatt plant, and so that it becomes less economic to build it larger was the issue. So you get less of a return. It doesn't pay for itself as quickly if you build it bigger. So the woman from Solar Design Associates, the consultant, seemed to be suggesting to build the smaller one. And then the second one that she seemed to suggest going forward on as well was on the roof of the N Towne garage. And the wastewater treatment site would be a town-owned one because of the fact that we have the $200,000 grant. It has to be a town-owned facility. The one on the garage roof, she's recommending a power purchase agreement where we just basically lease out the roof to someone else to install a system for us.
I also attended Friday night, which was, it just was small-town Medfield at its best. The 1964 football team, the only team that had gone undefeated, untied, and this was the 50th anniversary. And the 2 chiefs, Kingsbury and Meaney, just did a great job with the escort, and these 66, 67, 68-year-olds were like teenagers again.
They were having a blast.
They really did. It just was
You
a
did
great...
a nice job of
Oh, thanks. It just was a nice event. I also attended the planning board meeting where the Aesthetics and Sidewalk Committee made their final report, and the planning board accepted their recommendations, and the recommendations were dealing with the type of sidewalks which would resemble what's in front of Brothers Marketplace now, the types of trees. Mike Leader did a real good job of coming up with a list of the type of trees that should be planted and where they should be planted, so that someone now will have this list. It's very similar with the list that we give them for suggested street names. When a developer comes in,
Right, yeah.
same. And then also with crosswalks, and the Chief Meaney was on board with this as well, of a brick design, but it's a stamped, it's not a
Yeah.
brick. And they're holding off because it's technology that's changing as we speak.
Sure.
And it's like a rubberized, there's the latest. The one that Westwood did, actually now they feel it's actually not that good, because Westwood, I guess, is gonna have to replace some of theirs, it's become worn, so, but it would be that style. The planning board has asked them to stay on, in the sense of if something comes up, they can call them back
Sure.
into action.
Yep, that's
So
good.
just
It's a nice thing.
thanks to the Aesthetics and Sidewalk Committee on that. I also attended a meeting, which I thought was very interesting. Pete, you were there as well the other night, over at First Parish Church. It was on carbon tax for Massachusetts, and it was an interesting discussion of just climate change and energy and what we need to do in Medfield and Massachusetts, and as citizens of this planet, of the situation with the environment and what we're doing to it. So it was a panel of, was there 5 members?
Five
Five
people,
members that, from different walks of life, and it was just interesting. It was good background for myself to listen to that.
I didn't know that much about the idea of a concept of a carbon tax, and I guess it's fairly simple in terms of just taxing petroleum, it sounds like, basically. And then you can make it revenue neutral by taxing it and then turning the money back to the people, to the citizens, so that there's no net effect of the tax except to switch the people's purchase decisions away from petroleum, I guess is what you're trying to do.
It was a little confusing. I think I'd want to look at it a little bit more of how exactly that would work, but,
Well, it
Well, as
might,
long as they have a choice as far as what they might be able to purchase, because once again, some people might not particularly have a choice, an option as far as some things. Some of their products might be petroleum-based, and they might not have alternatives to
Yeah.
that too. So you do always have to be careful whenever you're gonna switch, when you're gonna redistribute people's income from one group of people to the other. It always gets dangerous, when you start to say you're gonna tax some people, rather than others.
well, it was
it was
just,
a fairly low, they were positing a fairly low tax. It was like 30 cents a gallon or something at most, I think, on gasoline.
But see, that would hurt me. My job is 30 miles each way. Now, I can't necessarily go and work for another bank. I can't go and work in Medfield where I could walk to work. There's limited jobs for me. So in my instance, due to no fault of my own, just to the industry I'm in, I would then be subsidizing someone who happened to be able to be in a job. Maybe they worked out of their house, so they would work out great. And I, of course, at 30 cents a gallon, 60 miles a day, would be really subsidizing someone to the tune of probably a couple $1,000s a year would be coming out of my pocketbook through no fault of my own. So that's examples like that I personally, I just get all worked up over, because people have high and mighty goals on how they want to do things, but it ends up hurting a lot of people that don't necessarily have an alternative to do that. Or if you're maybe heating your house with oil, you're going to tax people that use heating oil for their house. Whereas, if you happen to have gas heat, it works out great, but, that type of thing, so.
yeah, I would want
I
to,
always get worked up over that when people want to redistribute people's income.
I would want more know how it was going to work, but
Yeah.
I think the concern is there that there are some serious issues we're facing concerning climate change and global warming and things that we can't just put our heads in the sand
Oh, I
about
agree,
that.
definitely.
But you're right, we need to look at what exactly that means. I also had a resident of Granite Street call me that there was all kinds of water coming down Granite Street and down Tallwoods. I went up there and then called Ken. The issue actually, if the people listening from Granite Street or Tallwoods area, is actually in Walpole. And Ken was getting a hold of the Walpole Superintendent of Public Works, and they were trying to do something, so I don't know what the issue, but the issue is not Medfield. The water is coming out of Walpole, and it's just because of the hill, it's coming all down Trollwoods. So that's what I had.
Mark?
Just a couple things, like I said, Christine had mentioned, we had a nice little Arbor Day ceremony. It was on the 9th, I think, on Thursday morning. It was kind of nice in front of Brothers. And once again, we're really fortunate. You know, they're a really nice, nice corporate citizen, if you want to consider from that, as is everyone else that's in town. Everyone always is, all the local businesses have always stepped up to the plate to help out and stuff. We had a nice little ceremony, the sidewalk in front. They're cool trees, the Japanese ginkgo trees are kind of cool looking ones. I hadn't really looked at them that closely, but had a few minutes to kind of examine them. So the trees, their leaves are a little different from what you'd normally look at, but they look like they're doing quite well. The trees do and stuff like that. So
The highways did a nice job keeping those green bags filled with water during the summer.
yeah, so I think that'll do.
That's the difference, I think.
I think so. Yeah, so they should work out good. But it was a nice little ceremony. Like I said, they had some. Sarah brought out her pumpkin cookies.
Pumpkin cookies.
Yeah, and also her homemade apple cider, which was really good because
She
it was nice. It
makes
wasn't
apple
too sweet
cider.
or anything like
Oh,
that. It was
wow.
really hot
apple cider.
Yeah, the cookies were good. I brought some back to work, and the ladies really liked them. So then I had to go actually had to buy some the next day, as opposed to having free cookies. So they were a big.
Yeah, they
big hit.
did a great job with it.
Yeah, they did. And then just this weekend, and they've got an upcoming weekend too, Woodland Theater, they're doing their fall production, West Side Story. So I went and saw it this last Saturday, and they're also on for this Saturday too. So if people interested, they definitely should go to see it for one of their performances this weekend. It's woodlandtheater.com, so you can go online and check that out. Once again, they do a wonderful job and stuff like that. It's a wonderful musical, and once again, another great production right in Medfield High School. So it's nice having a local theater company. And they have some stuff coming up. They've got a Christmas Carol. Actually, it's on December 5th, that Friday night, where the Christmas tree lighting is and stuff. So they've got a one-man thing going on then. Then they've got Sweeney Todd coming up in January, and then Titanic, the musical, in May to finish up their season. So once again, a lot of fun. Another nice thing to do in Medfield. Like, we have lots of fun things going on, including this weekend, right? We've got the Town Garage and the Grist Mill for some activities and stuff. So that'll be kind of fun. Be fun.
I regret that I'm going to be away at the Mass Municipal Association
Oh, yeah.
Selectmen meeting.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to be in Vermont at my son, so.
Right, there you go.
I'll be there either, so.
Okay.
So you cut the ribbon
We're
at
gonna
the
have
highway
to-
garage.
Yeah.
Maybe they can bring some cider there too.
Yeah. That should be kind of fun, though, I think. Hopefully the weather will be nice on Saturday and stuff, yeah.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
It should be kind of good and stuff, yeah.
I went to the meeting of the Medfield State Hospital Master Planning Committee, and this last one on the 8th of October, they had this fellow in from Foxborough, who's been on the planning board and a selectman for 20 years. He was also on their reuse planning committee for the state hospital. And he just talked about what had worked well for them. I guess the big thing that I heard him say that resonated with me was that it's good to have a green belt for all the contiguously owned town land. And I know that when we walked around Foxborough, it had a nice feel in terms of, I especially liked walking from the commercial area right into the residential area. They're working on their RFP for to hire their planner to do the planning. They're on a very expedited course. I don't know exactly what the dates are, but it's like they're trying to get it done by June, is it?
Pete, who do they have oversee that project from the town's point of view? Who, I mean, it's a massive, who kind of oversees that?
What town employee is there?
Yeah, or how do they, who's the CEO, who's the clerk of the works that's keeping track of everything as that progresses?
Sarah, I guess,
Well,
right?
Sarah Raposa
No, in
attends.
Foxborough.
Oh, in Foxborough? I don't know.
Because, I mean, that sounds like a huge.
It's a private development. Foxborough was a private development, so the private developer is in charge of.
So the town just basically turned it over to the private developer?
Yeah.
Well, the town didn't have a choice, and they were doing it in the days when DCAM said, this is what we're gonna,
Yeah,
this
they
is
didn't
what
buy
we
it
want.
first.
Oh, okay. Oh, so
And
it
and so
wasn't sold.
they didn't have an opportunity
So
to
it's
buy it
different.
the way we
Okay.
did.
Okay.
They never had title. But they were involved in the planning process with DCAM. Because they actually said they had DCAM on their reuse committee. And that they said the DCAM was very useful to them in terms of being on their committee to do the planning. 203 units. They did overlay zoning.
Yeah, is that
Zone
the same
for-
at Northampton? Was that private too? It was just,
That was done by Mass Development, which is this sort of quasi-public-private entity, as I understand it.
But it didn't go to the town first.
so it's Medfield and Westboro that are paving the way, the frontier then? I'm sorry?
Waltham, so we'll be the
Waltham.
three kind of.
The Fernald School
Okay,
got
okay.
got into the partnership model as well, yeah.
Okay, that's right.
MCAP met, and we're still sort of reorganizing after not having gotten the federal grant. We don't know why we didn't get it, why we didn't earn it. They tell us later this month, apparently, why we or where we came up short. But we've sort of made a decision that the people that are on the committee, that we're going to go ahead anyway and just organize. It's just that we'll organize on a slower scale than if we had paid staff. Susan Cowell handed out a lot of information about, she had done some very good handouts for the parent information nights, and actually geared them towards the individual schools, so that the people at the Memorial School got one that was different than at Dale and Wheelock, and at the high school. Susan also was pulling out some information, some data points to use in some little pieces that the MCAP's going to put together. I mean, I'll just give you a couple of the data points. A lot of it's very kind of concerning. Current alcohol use, and this is amongst the high school, 60% of the seniors had used within 30 days, 45% of the juniors within the last 30 days. Binge drinking, which is 5 or more drinks in 2 hours, I think, very short period of time. 37% of the seniors had been binge drinking in the past month, quarter of the juniors. So, I mean, there's an issue to try to see if the kids can, or if it can be suggested to them, maybe there's a different way of doing things, especially as we're finding out more about the earlier that kids drink, the more likely it is that they're going to have substance abuse and mental health issues later in life, unfortunately. So, you know, hopefully that they would make healthier choices for themselves. I went to the MMA legislative breakfast last Friday down in Stoughton. They talked about the Community Preservation Act, wasn't getting up to the threshold. The state's been kicking in $25 million a year, but there was something about in order for the state to kick in the $25 million, there was some trigger that it had to meet, and they were saying that it wasn't getting to the required threshold to trigger the $25 million contribution from the state this year. They talked about the gun violence bill. Didn't have much interest for me, but apparently you're going to be able to buy pepper spray pretty soon at the CVS or something like that. Wastewater treatment plants, there's going to some sort of federal discharge regulations that are in the works for that they say are going to be problematic. The good news was the tax receipts for the first quarter of the fiscal 15 are up over 2% over last year.
From Medfield?
No, for the statewide, the receipts statewide. So the state's just taking in more, so they'll have more money, hopefully, to do things with. And that was pretty much that. Then I went to a mini town hall at the James's house on Sunday night.
Excellent.
We sat around a fire.
Nice.
It was like a fireside chat. It was really cool.
Good.
There were about 14 people that showed up, and we had a good discussion about issues. So,
Good.
and that's all my information. And then under information, I see the cemetery commissioners have are doing something about no dogs allowed in the cemetery.
They had a meeting today and they voted, no dogs allowed at any time on cemetery property. It's my understanding from town council that they can amend their rules and regulations at any time, so they can do this. The issue becomes, they don't have the ability to issue fines and or enforce. The question is who's going to do the enforcement. Their rules and regulations state the police department or any employee of the cemetery, superintendent of public works. So I still think it's an issue you're going to have to address at the annual town meeting.
As far as
And I know I've received several emails over the last couple of weeks asking that if there is an article that will ban dogs at the cemetery, that people be allowed to submit an alternative article. So I think you're going to see several articles regarding this issue.
Anything with a fine has to go to town meeting, correct? If you
set aside 2 nights then for town meeting. Take up a whole night.
Oh, do you remember when they went to the leash law? How long that took?
So one of the things that has come up that we've
Yeah.
been talking about as I've had these conversations with people is, maybe we should just have a pooper scooper bylaw, and we do. So I think we'll start to undertake more of a public relations campaign to remind people who may have moved into town who weren't there that crazy night when we did the pooper scooper bylaw that we actually have one. So we'll start a campaign as to, we do have one, please acknowledge it. And the other issue that Ken and I have been talking about is DEP has a series of informational videos and discussion pieces about why you need to pick up after your pets, because it's not just an issue at the cemetery, it's becoming an issue town-wide, and what that effect is on our water. So we'll start publicizing that as well.
So just so I'm clear on this then, what they voted, they changed the rules and regulation because there was some difference between what the sign was saying, what the regs were saying.
Correct.
So that the rules according to the cemetery commission now says no dogs at any time. So that's,
And that reflects the current signage that's in place.
so that's the official policy. The
That is their
issue is,
policy.
there's no enforcement or fines that they can put. However, we have a pooper scooper law, and we also have a leash law.
Correct.
But people, according to the cemetery, should not have the dogs in the cemetery.
Correct.
And if they do, they're violating the law, but we just would have an issue of how to enforce it.
Right.
Until we go to
They-
town meeting.
Right. It does say in their rules and regulations that any employee of the cemetery department or the police department can ask people to leave.
They
based
just
on
can't
that.
issue any fines.
But there's
obviously.
the fine is
Yeah.
the issue. And then, we found even when passing the issue of the fines at town meeting, it's impossible to enforce them and collect them
course, because
after
they-
they've been issued. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping maybe a public relations campaign of why these are good things to do will help towards that.
I guess that's it then. Oh, should we discuss what we're going to do at our next meeting? Let's see, what's the next meeting is
Next
Next
Tuesday.
and we were supposed to have the state reps, but Senator Timothy can't make it, so do we have the state reps or not?
No,
There's no
they
confirmation.
come as a package.
Okay, so the package deal is we get none. So we have nothing scheduled then for the next week.
Do you want to bring in
So why
one
don't
of
we,
the boards?
Yeah, why
that
don't we talk, try to bring in some of those?
One of the boards we didn't do.
Why don't we just leave that up to Evelyn and Mike and Chris to schedule?
Okay.
See if any of them can make it in. That would be
Mhm.
good.
I'll Xerox this off.
And why don't you plan on doing your appointments that night as well? We'll get them to you by the end of this week, and then you can
Okay,
do them that
great.
night.
We can take care of them.
Good.
Good, I like it. Excellent, thank you.
So then we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Hi, I'm Jeff Marsden, and you're watching Medfield.tv.